Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Jets Radio. This is one of your hosts, Tyson Roush. The off-season editions have kicked in, and now it's championship weekend, so we got a lot to talk about. Let me introduce the man of the people, Long Beach Joe. What's up, man?
What's going on? Can't wait to talk to the people. We got a lot to talk about. Man, so excited. This off-season's here, or it's coming. At least it's coming soon for us, at least. We got a lot of stuff we got to fix, so can't wait to get into it. But listen, I'm the man of the people. I'm here for the people. Let me shamelessly promote our Facebook page. Everyone go on Facebook, search Let's Talk Jets Radio. Like that page. Our content's up there. Go ahead and give it a listen. Message us. We'll message you right back. We love going back and forth with folks about this football team. Also, leave us a feedback. We love hearing about what you folks think we do here on Let's Talk Jets Radio. So without further ado, Ty, let's go ahead and get into the show. I'm fired up.
Yeah, as always, we're on Instagram and Twitter at Talk Jets Radio. We're on YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio. We want to thank everybody for all the comments and sticking with us. Like I said, we do a lot of off-season stuff. We'll have draft analysts. We'll have agents and players and all kinds of stuff. And also, we launched a new YouTube channel, Let's Talk Mental Health. It's a completely different channel. Every once in a while, I'll pop a video on our YouTube channel, but it's Let's Talk Mental Health. Check that out. And, Joe, before we go into football, what is your prediction for Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone?
Oh, man. I would like to see Cowboy win, but I don't think he'll do it. I think Conor will take it, but I think Cowboy will give him a great fight.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight, man. I'm glad that Cowboy's getting his big payday, which he deserves. Conor's going to make his $50 or $60 million, which is ridiculous, but it should be a fun fight for all the fans. And as we look in, before we even go into the Jets, this is the Final Four weekend in the NFL. Joe, looking at the first couple of weeks of playoffs, is there anything that stuck out to you in terms of how all these teams are winning?
Yeah, running the football effectively has been a big part, especially if you look at the Titans. I mean, Derrick Henry's a dude that, I've always talked about. I always thought he was a solid back. I remember when DeMarco Murray was there, there was kind of, going back and forth between both of them. But Henry really, when he got his time to shine, when Murray got hurt, it was like, hey, this kid could be, solid. Maybe you guys can make him the feature back. And he finally has, got his feature back stuff. And, man, he runs so powerfully, so strong. And they're riding that wave, and other teams are running the ball extremely well, too. And that's a key, especially late in the season, something that we should, try around here. But, we'll see what happens going forward with our offensive game plans. But running the ball effectively and playing solid defense will get you to the playoffs and keep you there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that, you try to sit and you're like, all right, now that we don't have to watch the nonsense that is the New York Jets, let's evaluate how everybody else is winning and how the Jets can get there. And the first thing you see, you mentioned it, that's the first thing I focused on. It's obviously we've talked about offensive line for 3 months now, and that's the obvious thing. But the other thing is committing to the running game. And there's teams that are winning by committing to it. Like you said, the Titans do it. All these teams, like you want to pass the ball like the Chiefs, but other teams are able to do it by running the ball, setting up the pass, establishing a line of scrimmage, controlling the line of scrimmage. And I think that's where it starts, Joe, to be honest with you. It's offensive line, defensive line. The teams that are having a lot of success, the 49ers are they're just crazy with their pass rush, with Bosa. The Packers with two guys that we both wanted in Darius Smith and Preston Smith. It's pass rush, dominate the trenches, and have a solid running game. And then the piece of it is a quarterback doesn't make big mistakes. Like, don't make that timing mistake. Like Lamar Jackson, as good as he made a costly mistake. Drew Brees did. Some of these guys are making huge mistakes, but it's in the trenches, running game, sound special teams. Special teams played a huge role for the Chiefs. But you see a lot of things, and you're like, all right, how does that translate to the Jets? Well, our special teams have been very good under Brant Boyer. The defense, Greg Williams did a lot with smoke and mirrors. You got to hope that's going to improve if they can finally get a pass rusher, and then it comes back to the offense. And you're like, oh, that is the one area that we want to get better. And I guess my question for you is, if the Jets significantly improve their offensive line, which I think it's safe to say they're going to do because Joe Douglas is an offensive line guy, and this has been a hole for 5 years, Do you think they have a chance to compete at a much higher level next year? Is it just the offensive line, or do they have a lot more holes than that?
Well, I don't think it's just the offensive line. I mean, the offensive line is a big key because, giving Sam time to find guys, being able to open holes a little bit more for Le'Veon Bell. But I also think, if Le'Veon was going to be here, but I also think that there's issues elsewhere as far as explosive playmakers because Le'Veon Bell wasn't utilized this season. I think that took a big part of our offense away because I think if we had utilized him correctly, and Adam Gase had made adjustments to his scheme, I think our offense would have been a lot better than what it was. And I think that that's one of the big reasons why, we weren't as competitive this year is also because of Adam Gase. If you look at a lot of these playoff teams, if you look at the Eagles, Dougie Peterson got to the playoffs with a team that was mangled by injuries. Guess what? Dude didn't make no excuses, adjusted his scheme every single part of the way, and got there and was very competitive against the Seahawks team. That was, and they were scrapping and fighting. Even when Wentz went down, they threw McCown in there. He was still scrapping and fighting. He was hurt as well. So being able to do those things is what's going to keep you in the playoffs and get you there as well. But when you look at our squad, we also have to worry about other positions too. I think our defense plays solidly, but especially when you go up against these upper echelon teams because we had such a soft schedule down the back end of the season. When you're facing, like your Niners or your Texans or, so on and so forth, week in and week out. I think getting better on the back end will help us too, as far as defensively. But offensively, we have to go get, more explosion as far as wide receiver as well in free agency and in the draft. We have to give Sam more hands, more ability, to get the ball out there, get it to a guy that's going to be able to make a play. So those are all things that I think we need to get better at before we see this team really step up and become some type of playoff team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's like they have some pieces on the defensive line. I mean, C.J. Mosley coming back healthy will be a big boost. I mean, middle linebacker, I think they're okay no matter who they bring back. But it comes back to you need these pass rushers, man. Like, and we talked about it. I mean, last year we both said, listen, you got Zardarius Smith, you got Preston Smith, you got all these guys. We don't get any of them. And it's like these are holes that it's like if you want to, it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to be an 8-8 team. If you want to get to that 11-5 status, you need game-breaking talent, impact players. You can't have all role players or complementary players. You need explosive players, speed players, and Joe, you even said it. It's like, and especially in our secondary, we just need more speed.
Yeah, we got to be. I mean, I think the thing, if you look at a lot of these playoff teams, they have talent at premium positions. When you look at the NFL, this is a passing league. So what do? You pay the guy that throws the ball. You pay the guys that protect the guy that throws the ball. You pay the guys that chase the guy that throws the ball. And you pay the guys that defend the guys that against from catching the ball. That's, where the ball's being thrown. And if you look at those position groups, we have issues at every single one of them. We don't have a pass rusher. Our offensive line is ass. Sam's solid, but he's under duress because of our offensive line. And our cornerback position is in flux. Tremaine Johnson coming into the season was the guy that we were saying, hey, he's the guy. If he don't show up, we don't know who he is. Tremaine Johnson is cold garbage. Hopefully we get rid of him this offseason. So we've got to fix those things. You know what I'm saying? So, and especially, again, with our lack of efficiency as far as coaching on the offensive side of the ball, that really hindered production too. So all those things have to come around for us to be, better.
Yeah, I agree. And like you mentioned the wide receiver position, we touched on it last week, and the hot topic was Robbie Anderson. But it's like you just need more. Like you watch all these teams, like you watch the Chiefs or you watch the Packers. Like you don't need to have 4 all-stars, but you need legitimate, guys that can get the ball in space and take off. Like Jamison Crowder serves a good role. If you bring Robbie back, great, but you still need more. And people are saying, oh, well, you got Vincent Smith and you got Barrios. You know what? We need more. And if you don't want to go that route, then you know what? If you have Le'Veon Bell, then bring in a speed guy. Like one of the biggest things a lot of things bother me with the Jets drafts, but all these drafts, we never get that speed running back. I mean, Trenton Cannon was the guy. You got him, in the 6th round or whatever the hell he was. But there's all these teams have all these weapons, and we don't have any of them. Like, we just got to overhaul the entire offense where it's actually a threat, and you can do something with it.
We got Vincent Smith and Braxton Berrios. I'm crying over here. Look.
Dude, you should see the tweets you get, man. I get ripped to shreds, dude. I'm like, we need receivers. What? We got Vincent Smith. We got Berrios. I'm like, what? I'm like, you guess Demaryius Thomas too is the answer? Like, are we with Demaryius Thomas too? And Joe, the best thing was? The best thing was, it's like, I almost went on a rampage today, but I thought of you, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stay controlled. The guy was like, sometimes consistency is best. You keep the same parts for Sam so Sam can get better. I'm like, you do what? Like, we're doing what now? I was like, I give up.
Oh, my goodness. Here's the deal with that. And I want to thank that person for even bothering to comment. Don't necessarily agree with your take, but thank you for taking the time to talk to us on Twitter. But here's the deal about the offensive weapons that we have here and their lack of utilization. You talked about, hey, having a speed guy, having guys that can make plays. We actually have guys like that on the roster. I mean, yeah, Trenton Cannon is a speed guy, but we also have guys that are extremely versatile that were misused pretty much the whole damn season as well. Bilal Powell, there were weeks where we talked about Ty Montgomery. Where is he even at within the offense? Ty Montgomery was brought in here to be that threat. He was the guy that we talked about. I mean, damn, he's not like, some type of crazy. He's not Alvin Kamara fast, but damn, he's pretty damn fast, and he also brings in, again, another skill set. He used to be a wide receiver. This guy was running routes. When he was with the Packers, they had him out spread out wide. He was running routes at one point, and he was beating guys, and we thought that that's what he was going to do here. But because he was utilized incorrectly within the offense, you see that there's no production from there in that standpoint. Going forward, yeah, I'd like to see us get some more game breakers, I guess, that Adam Gase is going to decide to use. I mean, you're not utilizing Le'Veon Bell correctly, so you would hope that in this draft you go get the guy that you want. I'd like to see us maybe go after another wide receiver. I like Robbie Anderson. I hope that we can get a re-sign, but the way it's looking, at least to me, I think that he's going to opt to go elsewhere. So we're going to have to find a guy to replace what he does talent-wise, and I think we can find a guy like that in the draft. I think our biggest problem is finding that number one wide receiver. You look at a lot of these teams that are in the playoffs, they have a defined number one wide receiver or more than one, number one defined wide receiver. You look at the Saints, they got a number one. You look at the Packers, they got a number one. You look at the Texans, they got a number one, so on and so forth. These guys have number one guys that when everything is falling down, they can get it to that guy, and he's going to win for them. I mean, you look at Texans, Hopkins is that guy, and it don't matter who's out there throwing the ball. I could throw on the ball. Hell, the producer could be the quarterback. And as long as you get it in his vicinity, he's going to catch the football. So I think that's what we need to really attack this year as well. And I don't necessarily think that we should try to attack that in free agency. I think that's something that we should try to address in the draft.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Chiefs, we got Tyreek Hill, they got Watkins. I mean, there's teams. It's like, and the other thing you look at is you watch these games, and the Titans are a great example, and they have an identity. The Baltimore Ravens, they have an identity on offense. Like, when you're playing them, you better bring your chin strap and buckle it 3 times because they're going to come smack you in the mouth. They're going to play fast. They're going to play physical. They're going to pound you. They're going to spread you out. The Jets right now, after 1 year, they have no identity in offense whatsoever. They have none. You have just a bunch of moving parts, and you have no idea what's going on. And then it's like, okay, if you don't know what your identity is, you got to establish one this offseason by the parts you bring in. And that falls on Joe Douglas. Like, at some point, somebody's got to say, okay, listen, this is what we're going to be, and these are the pieces that we're going to take to do that. Obviously, offensive line is the first start. But then after that, it's like, okay, what pieces around you are you adding to it to make this the direction that we want to go? And, Joe, you said, do you go in free agency or do you not? And here's where I have the biggest problem. And we just did a video on it yesterday. And it's, okay, you have the offseason, you have Joe Douglas, you have Adam Gase. To me, there are four people involved in personnel decisions. And I'll tell you who the 4 are. Greg Williams, Adam Gase, Joe Douglas, Chris Johnson. And to me, it's going to be a problem. And let me tell you why. Just say, for example, Greg Williams goes to Adam Gase and says, listen, we got to bring back Jordan Jenkins, or we got to bring back Brian Poole. I need these guys in my defense. Adam Gase is like, okay, I'll agree with you. Adam Gase is like, listen, I don't manage the defense. I don't know what the defense even does. You say that, you bring this to Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas says, I'm not doing it. Okay. Well, they both report laterally to Chris Johnson. Who decides this? Like, who's the decision maker here? Like that, you know what I mean, Joe? It's like, you could see the problems where it's like, is it going to be Greg Williams against Joe Douglas because Adam Gase has no say on defense? Like, how does this work? And then it's like, if it goes to where, like, it's a tie, is Chris Johnson the deciding factor? Like, who the heck? Like, there's going to be so many problems, I think, in terms of just the egos and the decision makers with this team.
Yeah, well, here's what I would hope would happen in that scenario. I would hope that Gaze's and Greg Williams' input would be given to Joe Douglas, and the decision would be made between Joe Douglas and the owner. Because if you are allowing Adam Gaze to make personnel decisions, or if you are taking his word over this, big-time general manager candidate that we hired and we brought in here, that was brought in to resuscitate this franchise, then I don't know exactly what we're doing here. If we're allowing Adam Gase to truly run this football team from pillar to post, like we've all talked about in the past, we've seen that this guy actually does have more control, then we're going to be in trouble because he's had, personnel control or personnel duties before, and we saw how that worked out with the last team, and what he did to them. So I would hope that, again, the input would be fed into Joe Douglas. He would take things into account. Sure, he has a list or a board or whatever of things that, needs on the football team. And those decisions would be made between him and the owner going forward about, what he's going to draft, guys that he wants to sign, guys that he wants to target in free agency, and how he wants to make this team better. Because that's the only way I really see it working. If you're talking about egos going back and forth and guys starting to get into it and it gets heated, we could really have issues. This team is going to have a lot of issues on the roster if you're not making decisions correctly around here.
Yeah, and then the other part of the puzzle, which I think is a lot bigger than people think, and this is just because we've seen this for about 12 years now, is that the New York Jets are going to have a hell of a time selling tickets. And it's a fact because people are giving up their PSLs, and this team right now with Adam Gase coming back as a head coach is very difficult to sell. People love Sam. People love Jamal Adams. People hate the coach. And if looking at next season, I don't think anybody really saying, you know what, this is a playoff team. This is really a team I want to spend my money on. I'll sit and watch it, but I'm not going to be actively going out to, spend $200 a game because I don't believe in the head coach. So then that leads to where does Chris Johnson give Joe Douglas a mandate to, listen, man, we need to do something to inspire the masses, get this stuff going, to get us selling tickets, whether that means give Amari Cooper $20 million a year or that means do something crazy. But do you worry that actually happens, or do you think Chris Johnson's more hands-off and says, hey, you know what, Joe Douglas, do your thing, and you have my full support, and I'll allow the poor ticket sales initially?
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you deal with the Johnsons, you have to be worried about idiocy. I was going to try to find a nicer way to say that, but it's God's honest truth. Like, anytime you deal with them, you're going to have to worry about idiocy. These are the same guys that brought in Tim Tebow. These are the same guys that have done various other idiotic things with this roster in the past to make splash moves to try to sell tickets and do dumb stuff around here. So, yes, I do worry about those things. But if they hired this guy, Joe Douglas, and they brought him in, I would hope that they have some type of faith in him to be able to resurrect the roster and fix the issues that we have here. So I would hope that if they were going to do a splash signing, that the splash signing would be in an area of great need like offensive line. If you're going to overpay somebody, I would guess, hey, let's overpay a big-time guard and let's play him up in the media like he's one of the greatest guards ever in the league. Hopefully we get one of the top guards because I think there's a lot of really solid offensive linemen coming out. Maybe they do something like that. I would hate for them to – I don't want to give Amari Cooper $20 million. I don't want for them to make some crazy splash trade where they trade away a bunch of picks that we really need for one guy. I would hope that they try to let the fans know, hey, look, we kind of made this bed, we're going to lie in it, and what we're trying to do is make this football team better overall. So hopefully when we get good again and we put the pieces together, we will beg for you to come back, but right now we got to do what it takes to make the roster better.
So if you're the New York Jets, do you think the sales pitch will be for this offseason like a step in the right direction, or do you think they're going to sell us? Listen, we're making moves to go to the playoffs next year, 2020. Like what is their pitch?
They're always going to say that. Hey, we're a team that's going to fight. We're going to push to make the playoffs and do those things. I don't think they've ever even said that. Hey, we're going to go into a rebuild until like the one time that we did. I think it was like when McCagnon. That was the first time we ever kind of heard about a rebuild, sort of, something like that. So I think they're still going to sell or pitch hey, we're fighting, we're doing whatever we got to do to make sure that we're in the playoffs next year. They're gonna sell that constantly. We're gonna be competing to be in the playoffs. We're gonna try to win a Super Bowl next year. But I think honestly, any common sense fan is gonna look at this and say, hey, they're just trying to sell us hey, we're doing what we need to do to get back into trying to be a winner. We're taking a step in the right direction. That's what I think that is going to actually be happening.
Yeah, and I'm hoping. I mean, and I don't really have a lot of faith in this. I don't trust ownership whatsoever. I know something dumb is coming. I just don't know what it is. You just know it is. But I'm hoping that ownership realizes that, listen, if they go out and sign like 2 premium linemen, as a fan, that's awesome. Like I'd rather have that over some receiver. You spend, hey, you give some guy $10 million a year, 2 of them, and you spend a lot of money on the offensive line. That's making me very, very happy. That is my sales pitch to me, saying, listen, we're taking it seriously. We know our holes. If you half-ass the offensive line, and try to get like lower tier guys and low risk, high reward guys to fix your holes, and then splash move for a receiver, it's not the way to handle it. I'm really hoping Joe Douglas has a vision and a blueprint, and Chris Johnson lets him do it. I'm not necessarily sure I buy into it. And then the whole Adam Gase factor is that's just the whole X factor of all of this.
Yeah, and the one thing that I think is going to sell tickets as well is pushing that Sam Darnold is going to take the next step in ascend, especially in an offensively driven league. It's crazy that you said that Adam Gase, or you said that the offense doesn't have an identity, because I remember Jawan James, an offensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins when the Dolphins were going down and Gase was there, looked at a reporter and literally said that to a reporter. This offense doesn't have an identity, and that's been a big knock on Gase the entire time. I remember I talked about that when we first hired this guy. His offenses are trash, and they don't really have an identity because he doesn't understand how to utilize personnel and what to do there. But if we're going to sell Sam Darnold being the face of the franchise, and Sam is going to own New York one day, we've got to put him in the best position to do that. And so I think that, especially again in an offensively driven league, if we pour a lot of resources into the offense this season, that should automatically make the team better. I mean, we've seen teams literally not have any defense playing out there and still be able to drag a squad to a playoff berth, to at least a wild card berth. We've seen that through these past couple of years where teams were complete caca on defense, but because their offense were able to generate so much points and so much push that they were able to just get into wild card spots and be extremely competitive. So I think that's something that they can do as well to help themselves sell tickets.
Yeah, I mean, if you in theory, if the Jets had any kind of brains, which that's always questionable, you look at it, all right, we have sound special teams minus the kicker. Your defense, Greg Williams can do a lot with a little. Now give him a lot and it'll be even better. It's listen, have a plan on offense, and this team can be competitive regardless of the schedule. You can, don't mail it in because of the schedule. Don't mail it in because don't find excuses to suck and don't justify losing. Come together with a plan that can actually make you very competitive and establish your identity. And it's something that you got to establish not just for this year, but for the years to come. When you, we've talked about it for so many times, Joe, over the years of this show. You play the Steelers, you play the Ravens, you play certain teams, no matter what year it is, you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting a hard, tough, physical, you know what you're going up against. Even with the Jets with Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan, you knew when you played us, it was ground and pound, and we're going to play physical football, and if you don't man up, we'll run for 250 yards on you. And that's the way it is. And that's what they have. They got to establish some kind of, we keep talking about culture. We need to establish some kind of identity with the Jets. Listen, we have an all-pro safety. We have all these things, and you know what you're going to get when you play us. And we got to figure out what the hell that is.
Yeah, I mean we do, especially offensively. But again, that a lot of that is on Adam Gase. He's got to figure out how to utilize his players. He's got to figure out how to make adjustments as well. We talked about a lot of these teams as well that are good every single year. You just brought up the names, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Eagles. Those teams know how to make adjustments, okay? You do something more than twice against the Ravens, they're going to smack you the third time you try it. Hell, they might smack you the second time you try it, and you're going to learn real fast. We can't just, line up and do the same things against these guys. We've got to switch it up. So, look, if you brought Adam Gase here to be some type of offensive guru, you got to, do whatever you can to pour into the offense so that the excuses will be gone. Okay, there's no more excuses when you got your great offensive line if your offense is still ranked, 31st or 32nd or whatever in the league. There's just no more excuses when you give him a bunch of weapons. So, and there's also, again, like I said, something that you can do to really help Sam as well, because he's supposed to be growing and maturing in this stage. We're supposed to be watching him ascend and take that gigantic next step, and I don't think we saw that this season either. He made some strides. He looked all right, but just he didn't ascend the way we all thought that he would this season. So we've got to do whatever we can to help that.
Yeah, and that's the biggest part of all this. And you look at it, it's like, and this is, I mean, the 6-2 ending to the season seems to be the ultimate deodorant for this team. And what I don't understand is there are teams that are much better than the Jets. Once the season's over, they're making coaching changes. Not the head coach,
Absolutely.
but they're saying, hey, you know what? The offensive coordinator gets fired. The quarterback coach gets fired. Like they make changes. Like, listen, what we're doing is not good enough. We're going to make changes. Teams that are much better than the Jets, playoff teams, are firing coaches, position coaches. And meanwhile, the Jets are status quo, like everything's cool. Like, no, we're good, but all our parts are fine. And it's just so surprising. I'm like, I'm going to give them time because the season's not over yet. Maybe once the Super Bowl comes and goes, they may make more changes. Maybe there's a guy that they want that's on a team still, out there. But you kind of want to see some kind of shakeup here. Like, listen, 7-9 is not good enough. Let's stop being happy about it. Let's stop rewarding ourselves and patting ourselves on the back. We need to shake things up because our offense was terrible. You know what I mean? It's like, and the thing is, like, even that 6-2 run, the offense wasn't great in those games. They played against a second-string Buffalo Bills defense, which was terrible. Yeah. The Steelers didn't do much. Like, there's still problems here. And you want to see constant improvement, upgrades.
Yeah, but who exactly do you fire on your offensive staff for the game plan not being? Well, it's more than just the offensive line being bad as well. The offensive game plan in a lot of those games was not very good. The play calling was not very good. The lack of adjustments were glaring. The same thing that we saw in week one was the same thing we saw damn near every single week of the year this year. Every week, damn near, I remember us coming on this show after the game saying, hey, the play calling was atrocious, man. That game plan could have been much better. Oh, my goodness, that play call or those play calls during the game, what was that? Oh, the lack of adjustments in the second half. We kept saying the same thing every damn week. So who do you blame for that? Because Adam Gase is the guy that's the offensive coordinator. I know you're not talking about firing the clipboard holder. The OC here that's the clipboard holder, he doesn't really do anything here. Adam Gase is the guy that's actually, in charge of this offensive output. It's the same thing I remember saying when Todd Bowles was here. Well, you think he's going to fire himself? Adam Gase is not going to fire himself for this offense being ranked last in the league, damn near in every statistical category. He's not going to do that. So unless he's going to do that, he has to change. And a lot of those other teams that you were talking about that are ready to get rid of positional coaches, I think the Eagles just fired one of their offensive positional coaches. Even though they were banged up with injury, Dougie Peterson is looking at it like, hey, if you're not getting the job done, we're going to get your ass out of here too because we expect more. These guys don't accept losing culture. And I think that the problem here is we, at some point, have accepted losing culture. We use injuries and make excuses of it when other teams do not do that. If the Steelers sat back and said, all right, we're missing our starting quarterback and other various injuries that they had this year, we're just going to sit back and not do anything like we did earlier in the year. That game against the Browns, those other games when Sam wasn't playing, we just literally looked like we didn't even get off the bus offensively. There were games where we just mailed it in offensively and did nothing. And there was no adjustments whatsoever to the scheme. Those other teams, the Carolina Panthers, they lost their guy. They strode a rookie undrafted free agent out there and said, we're going to keep fighting. Same thing with other teams. Well, they have various
Steelers
kept going out there, made adjustments. Yeah, the Steelers kept going out there, kept fighting. They didn't care. That's something that has to change here. And until that change, we're going to continue to have these issues and we're going to be losers. Because, again, these teams that are in the playoffs, the teams that are constantly competing, they have solid front offices. They have solid franchise structure. They don't play around. It's one team, one goal, one fight. They're all pointing in one direction, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get there.
No, I completely agree. And this is where like the accountability kicks in. It's like, it's funny because right you can tell the Jets are in sell ticket mode because their social media accounts like, oh, our defense was scoring points, our special teams are scoring points. They're ignoring the big elephant in the room. It's the horrendous offense you had. And it's like if you want to preach accountability and you want to preach improvement and you want to preach upgrading everything, how do you look at the offensive line and the way they played and say, everything's cool? We're going to bring back everybody we have in terms of coaching staff. And this is fine. When the adjustments you're talking about, when analysts are saying, why aren't they changing this scheme? Why aren't they changing this? This line looks dazed and confused. What in the hell are they doing? How do you say, okay, that's cool, we're going to bring back this guy next year? And, hey, if you want to call him a scapegoat, call him whatever you want. But shake things up and even just show the locker room, listen, what we did last year was not acceptable. So now he's going to be gone, and if you don't improve, you're going to be gone. Like, you got to set some kind of tone somewhere. Like Greg Williams did it with Bless Austin. Bless Austin blew that coverage against the Steelers. He didn't see the field the rest of the year. Adam Gase never did that. But if you're going to do that for a player, you should do it for a coach too, a position coach. Your offensive line drastically underperformed all year long, significantly, with glaring mistakes that got your quarterback killed. The play calling didn't help, but the line play was horrendous. So whether it was talent or coaching was a problem, change it up. So I'm not going to go, I'm going to give them another couple weeks so the Super Bowl comes and goes, and then they have a chance to actually make changes. I mean, Bill Callahan's still out there from as long as I can see. I haven't really keep track of it, but there's guys out there. So it's like, listen, if you can drastically improve your offense by upgrading a position coach, do it. There's no reason why you shouldn't be.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that's something they should look at. But, again, I just don't think that Gaze is going to do that. I think a lot of the issues, honestly, on this football team, particularly offensively, lead directly to him. And it kind of is what it is there. But like you said, that's something that we should do. We should be looking at getting guys out of here that are not performing well or units that are not performing well and bringing other people in here that are going to make this team better. But, you look at it, and you said it, and I've said it multiple times, it's not going to happen, and it's not happening.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. So what we'll do is we'll go to callers, 929-477-2651. Don't forget, check us out on YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're all over the place. If you want to listen to the show and you're not doing to it now, iTunes, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Podbean, and all those places. And we're going to go to an old friend who must be happy the Patriots are out of the playoffs. We're going to go to Greg in Massachusetts. Greg, what's up, man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys. That old year sucked.
Alex Cora got fired, too. And Alex Cora got fired, too. So today's a really good day.
Who got fired today?
The Red Sox manager.
Oh, really? Really?
Yep.
Well, if you saw what they did to Houston, maybe the NFL will follow suit and really hammer the Patriots. I'd love it if they took away the Patriots' first-round pick this year.
Yeah.
But the only good thing, but this was a tough year. This year just. I can't even tell you. I'm so unimpressed with the 6-2. That first half of the season was abominable. My standards have gotten low. I got to the point after the last few years that I just wanted to be competitive by Halloween. This year, I was happy to be competitive by halftime. We were getting blown out every game. Against the winless Miami Dolphins, if you recall. We were out of it at halftime. Yeah. There were like 6 or 7 games where you knew there was no way we were going to come back. Gase, and I've been through it all. I can't believe that he's not the worst coach I've ever seen. It just irks me that he's got a guy like Sam Darnold and the quarterback coach is Dowell Logans. Are you kidding me? He should be scouring the world to get the best quarterback coach in there to help the kid with his mechanics, help the kid with his reading the field, help the kid with his judgment, and we're going to go with his buddy, who makes Casey Rogers' selection look like a genius compared to him. I'm going to throw some names out, and I want to tell you that they have 2 things in common: Nathan Shepard, Fadukasi, Kyle Phillips, Brian Poole, James Burgess, Terrell Basham, Bless Austin, and Arthur Millette. All unheralded guys who played well beyond their expectations. All of them. They were solid. Not one of them is an offense. Every one of those is a defensive guy. And I don't want to hear about Vincent Smith catching 4 passes or Braxton Berrios, any of that crap. These guys were contributors, and and all on defense. And another point I want to make is, last year with Todd Bowles, he when his offensive line had 4 of the same 5 starters that this guy had. Harrison was at center when they replaced Long, Shell, Beecham, and Winters, and then they added Assembly. But they had 4 of the 5 offensive line. They didn't play like this. This offensive line, the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season was I've never seen anything like that. I mean, all coming in unblocked all the time, so you can't say, this excuse that he had injuries and he didn't have the talent. He had more talent. They had just spent $100 million. He had Le'Veon Bell. He had a lot of guys that they picked up. They got Crowder, and they were a more disgraceful performance because this was a very easy schedule, and that's 7-9. I mean, he just did. He was horrendous. So what have we got to hope for? I think the 3 most important positions in football are coach, quarterback, and general manager. And I'm very confident we got the quarterback. I'm more than confident we don't have the coach. So now the general manager. So he's an unknown, but there's 2 things that give me a lot of hope for him. Two big things. Number one is when he got hired, he hired 3 well-respected guys: Phil Savage, Rex Hogan, and Chad Alexander, who's director of player personnel. They got him from Baltimore. 3 well-respected guys. First-rate minds surround themselves with first-rate minds. Second-rate minds surround themselves with Dowell Logans and Casey Rogers and guys like that. And if you remember with McCagnon, he had a 30-year-old kid. Heimerdinger was his number 1 guy. This guy has got very experienced, and that tells me he doesn't want yes men. That he wants people that have vision, and so that's one of the things. The second thing is the one move he did make during the season of significance, the trade of Leonard Williams. I think, given the circumstances, was an excellent trade. And I don't care if he signs with the Giants or not. To get a 3rd this year and at least a 5th next year and maybe a 4th next year, that was a good move. So now we got to see what he does. Does he have the vision? Does he have the blueprint, like you said? Does he try to acquire more picks? Does he make a series of solid moves, or does he try to make flash moves? Does he attack the premium positions for a change? Offensive line, corner, wide receiver, edge. And in the next year or 2, and it's going to take him time, does he start to reset the salary cap? We got so much invested in inside linebacker, so much, Le'Veon Bell. I like Le'Veon Bell. I thought he was terrific, but just if they sign Jamal Adams this year, the top 5 guys in the salary cap will be an inside linebacker, Mosley, then a running back, Bell, a safety, Adams, then it'll be Crowder, and then it'll be Avery Williamson. Well, 4 of the 5 guys on your salary cap that are taking up the most of the salary cap are playing non-premium positions. And if you want to look around 2 years from now and say, geez, why don't we have good things like Kansas City? Well, that's part of it. And so that's what I'm looking to see if this guy does. And the other thing is, I believe he negotiated a good deal for himself, 6 years. I can't believe that part of that negotiation was that he would let Chris Johnson tell him, if I tell you to sign this guy to get tickets, you got to do that. I don't believe he did that. I hope he didn't, but I don't think he did. So I don't think the only thing I'm a little worried about is he's got some ties to Gase. If Gase does what he does next year, like he did this year, will he let him go at the end of the season? I think he will, but that So anyway, that's all I got to be optimistic about is Joe Douglas, because the rest of this, my goodness.
Well, he's got But he's got a lot to prove. Like, his resume is phenomenal, his staff is phenomenal, but he's also got to show the ability to land a prominent free agent. I mean, Mike McHagnon was the king of almost and what ifs and could haves. I mean, the Jets always showed interest, but they never really got the guys they wanted. So he's got to be able to land primary free agents, not give away excessive contracts, pull off trades, and navigate the draft board too. Where McHagnon would always trade back at the most inopportune times. He's got a lot to prove, man. Like, it's starting the first day of this offseason, he's got a lot to prove. Especially with the old guys.
Yeah, McHagnon's trade backs though was stupid. He'd trade back
they're horrendous.
7 picks in the fourth round to pick up a 25th round pick 3 years from now. His trade backs were ridiculous. I'm expecting a little more competence.
Yeah, but the only thing is though with like, I give Joe Douglas, he got a 6-year deal. He's got a lot of power. He's got a good staff. But I also question some of the things he's done already, too. The Ryan Khalil move was a complete disaster. Yeah. The way they handled the backup quarterback position with Luke Falk was a complete joke. The way they handled the kicking position was a complete joke. He traded for Demaryius Thomas, who's probably going to get released. I mean, he did some things that flew under the radar because everybody was hating on Adam Gase. But he didn't have an excellent first season. He made some mistakes as well.
There's no question. There's no question. And, when you look at it, they cut Deontay Burnett. They had their third, fourth, and fifth receivers were washed-up Thomas, Vincent Smith, Braxton Berrios. Never tried to correct that. They never picked up somebody that would help Sam Darnold during the year. That was ridiculous. Yep. Now, you have only 2 really professional receivers, so you would think that your coach would play Bell as a slot receiver or put Ty Montgomery out there. But when you have that moron as a head coach and you have this bare cupboard for the receiver, but I was very disappointed that Joe Douglas wasn't trying to help them out during the season. So you're right. I think the only low-level trade that I kind of liked, I didn't like, is the one for Hairston. I think Hairston for a 6th-round pick. He's still on the team, very small contract, like $750,000, and he showed some flashes. He had some bad games, but I think he's got the potential to be a decent 4th or 5th or 6th corner. But you're right. The book is out on this guy.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for calling in. I love speaking with you when you do call in, Greg. But I have questions about Joe Douglas as well. Like you said, the move that he made to bring that center in here, Khalil. Clearly, we see it didn't work out, but he also made some decent moves too. Like you said as well, that trade, Greg. And I thought bringing in Alex Lewis was a decent move too. Here's a guy that maybe isn't a starter, but he did fill in some roles. He played decently, but he can also bring up some solid backup as well. So he could be a depth guy that we could really hopefully keep around and, really be able to bolster the offensive line in case guys go down. But you were talking about the wide receiver position, and I'm right there with you. There's some guys there that, we're going to definitely have to figure out what we're going to do going forward to kind of fill out and help out Sam. But a big part of that is keeping Robbie here if we can. I want to know, Greg, how much do you think we should give Robbie, and what is too much for us, to pay him and we have to say, hey, it's time to walk away?
That's a tough question, and I'm willing to overspend a little for him. If I got to go to $13 million, got to do it. It's because if you don't, then you got Crowder, and then you got to. Where are you going to get the other guys from? It's not going to be a good free agent. There's not a lot of good free agents available, and everybody says it's a deep draft for receivers, and that's true. But you got other things to do in the draft as well. We got other holes to fill, and rookie receivers, they don't come right into the league and burn it up either. And I just don't want to see a situation where there's lack of separation again. If you got to pay him a few more bucks. Now, you said something last week that was interesting. If he gets out of hand and he wants $15 million and that's what it's going to take, I agree with you, Joe. But what I would do is I would take that money that I would have paid Robbie and then use that to get the absolute top offensive lineman on the market,
exactly,
and then feel free with the first pick in the first round, with a first round pick to go receiver if you have to replace him. I think Braylon Edwards, really when he came to the Jets, that's when Sanchez all of a sudden started to do something. And to pick up a guy like C.D. Lamb, I'd rather go offensive lineman based on what we have. But if we're going to not go with Robbie and we spend that money to get a top tackle, then I feel more free to go to a top receiver. But if there's nothing, and we don't even have any young guys. You can look at the defensive line and say, geez, you got Phillips, you got Shepard, you got Quinton Williams, you got Fedorkowski. The receivers, unless you guys are drinking the Braxton Berrios Kool-Aid, there's nothing there.
Nope, there's nothing there.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's bad, Greg. It's bad, man. This is all those years of Devin Smith and Chad Hansen or Darius Stewart. It all comes back to bite your ass sooner or later, and that's what happened.
And adding one more name, all those years of Mike McCagnon. Look, we might as well just go into a shell for the next 5 years if he turns out to be another Mike McCagnon. I just won't let myself think that. I mean, this has been torture, and I just got to hope that Douglas starts rebuilding this team, and I kind of think he will. He's mentioned it's all in the trenches, and that's another good thing I like him. Mike McCagnon made clear his contempt for going after the offensive line, and I watch Tennessee, and I don't know if you watch some of those games over the weekend. Some of these plays, the quarterback had forever to throw the ball, and that's if he believes in that, I think that this team will get better. The problem is I just don't think that Gase is the answer, and I just don't know how we solve that problem.
Greg, anyway. Great to hear from you, man. It's great to hear from you.
Well, thanks, guys.
2020 in the right direction.
All right, I'm gonna like to call in a lot during this off season because this is going to be an interesting one. I'll talk to you guys later.
I appreciate it. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Joey's one of my. Wait, that was an excellent call, man. He went on like a 4-minute rant. I just sat back and enjoyed that. I had some popcorn. I was just chilling out.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking to Greg. He always brings the fire, super knowledgeable fan. He knows what he's talking about, like you said, man. All the knowledge that he kicked in this call was amazing.
Yeah, it was. And, I think we all had, like, the same kind of, blueprint, like offensive line, upgrade that, and then it comes down to, how do you handle your premium positions? What do you do with Bell? What do you do with Robbie? And it's going to be fascinating, man. It's like, we're only about, 2 weeks away from all the rumors and all everything else coming out. And it's going to be wacky, man. It really is. Like, and you already, I don't know. I wish I had more confidence in Joe Douglas, but I just fear Gase and Chris Johnson. I just do. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, you should. I mean, you look at all the power that Gase has been able to exhibit so far. He was the guy that got the general manager fired. He started making moves, all this crazy stuff. So you should be concerned about that. And we've also seen how weak-minded the Johnsons are. They're just making stupid moves themselves, but also Chris Johnson, the idiotic decision to even hire Gase in the first place. So I'm just hoping that Joe Douglas is able, or that Joe Douglas has the power to do what he needs to do to make this roster better and, doesn't overspend or do anything crazy. I think the writing is kind of on the wall with Bell. I think he's a guy, probably isn't going to be on the roster next season. And you look at the issues that he has with Gase. I mean, they've, he's tweeted about stuff in social media. And you look at Robbie really, it hinges on how much, they're going to spend. But at the same time, they were looking to trade him as well. So maybe that was kind of tipping their hand as well, that he's not a guy that they want to move forward with either. So we'll see what happens. But they've got to do whatever they can to fix this football team.
Yeah, they do. We're going to go to our good friend Tyrone. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? First and foremost, man, Greg just killed that. Like, I mean, he just bodied it. That was probably one of his best interviews ever, bro. He killed that. But he touched on a lot of great things, and I feel the same way. I think this free agency, man, I think it really has to be about fixing the offensive line, maybe getting 1 or 2 positions. I mean, because like I said, we need 5 positions. So if he can grab 2, maybe Sheriff, and go for old boy out of Tennessee and throw the bag at him and whatever it takes. The Robbie situation, I mean, I hate to see Robbie go, but I have a question. If Robbie leaves and we don't sign a receiver, we going to get a comp pick for Robbie, right?
I don't even know the formula for all that. I think it depends on what else.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And but the problem with that is,
I'm just saying.
if you let Robbie walk, are you saying that Quincy's coming back? Are you counting on him, or you're saying no Quincy, no Robbie? We're just coming back with Jamison Crowder.
No, I think at the end of the day, man, I think you're gonna have to find somebody in free agency. But I actually think you got to let Quincy walk as well. I just think that he's gave him this contract. You know what I'm saying? He's playing with his life, man, and he's not able to produce. It's not helping Sam at all. I think that you're letting Robbie walk.
Robbie walk and Quincy walk, and you're not signing a free agent? I mean, what the hell? What's the hell about plan here?
No. Listen. Sign somebody in free agency. Fix the offense. I think in free agency we need to target four things in free agency.
This is the problem I have, and I'm not being a jerk or anything, but I don't want to just sign somebody. We need to give Sam legitimate playmakers. Why don't we catch up to the rest of the NFL for once? Why can't we be a big boy team once in a while and act like we know what the hell we're doing? Stop settling. I mean, I always feel like we always get the third best option. Why not get premium players for once?
But I actually think that Joe Douglas will. I think that having Phil Savage, man, is a blessing, because I think that he really understands what happens. I think the biggest mistake, people go to the Senior Bowls and all this stuff right here, they miss the biggest issue, and the biggest thing they miss is these guys show up on tape and they produce on tape. So what happens is, the guy didn't test well, he didn't run well, so I'm not going to draft him. And that's a big mistake. I think Joe Douglas won't make that mistake. But it's so many issues to fix. It's so many holes to fix. It's going to be very difficult to be able to just grab, one or two things. And we need more than one or two things. So I think if we get a chance to grab somebody, what?
Yeah, no. You and I want to thank you for calling in, Tyrone. You're going pretty much, down the same path I was going. I look at the situation like, listen, if you're letting Robbie walk, you're letting him walk because he's asking for too much money. So it's time to move on and move forward, because when you look at the rank of things that we need, I'm sorry, Robbie, is a solid wide receiver for us. He's been all right. He's not a number one. He's not a well-rounded wide receiver, and he, doesn't play on the line. That's what we need. We need offensive linemen here. We need other things more than we need that. Listen, it's not about letting Quincy walk either. That guy has spinal stenosis. He also hasn't been healthy, I don't think, in the last, 3 to 4 years. He's always missed significant time during the year due to some injury. So even if you bring him back, it's not guaranteed that he's even going to be healthy this season at all. So you might be without him for, 10, 12, maybe 13 games next year as well. So it's time to move on.
Absolutely.
He's got spinal stenosis.
Absolutely.
That's it. I'm sorry, and I love Quincy, but I'm sorry, it's over. It's time to move forward. So I think when you look at this team and you look at wide receiver, there are wide receivers out there that we can target. I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to hit free agency if he does and doesn't resign where he is. He's a guy that we can target, but I think our biggest pool to address the wide receiver issue here is going to be the draft. I am concerned about that, though, because I am concerned about Adam Gase being able to utilize that talent, that's coming out of the draft, because he couldn't utilize Le'Veon Bell. And I know we're going to, as we get closer to the draft, I'm going to talk about that, because I have a lot of things to say about that. But I think that that's how we're going to have to go, to shore up the issues here that we have at wide receiver. We need to get younger. We need to get young, speedy guys in here, and that's how we're going to do it. Paying Robbie Anderson $15 million, if that's what he wants, or some stupid-ass team comes out of nowhere and that's what they want to give him, is not something I'm interested in doing. What are your thoughts about that, Tyrone?
No, I think you're absolutely correct, and I think that's the whole thing with it. I think Greg said it best. If you can get Robbie for $12 or $13 million, that's wonderful, man. I mean, I just think Robbie being with Robbie's speed and Robbie's breakaway speed and the way people love him with the deep ball and he opens teams up, I think Robbie's gonna go with he's gonna get it back. He's gonna get whatever he wants. So
Absolutely.
I think that's out of our price range, and I would love to have Robbie back, but we have so many other needs. I mean, you have to, you have to find a cornerback. You have to find a cornerback. You have to find 5 offensive linemen. I mean, not one.
You got to find a pass
2.
rusher.
Exactly. Something we probably won't do this season. I mean, we're in the process of fixing things. And I think that if Joe Douglas goes this offseason, especially free agency, said, look, we need to get 1 or 2 offensive linemen. Let's try to get 1 cornerback. Let's try to grab a mid-level receiver. And then let's tackle the draft for the rest and see what else breaks loose. That has to be the plan. You can't go into this trying to fix everything in one season. And everyone needs to understand this, man. It's not a one-season fix. We have so many issues and so many lacking players that we need that there's nothing we can really do about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're completely right, Tyrone. I'm going to ask you this question, man, because you just talked about some position on defense. I brought it up a little bit. The issue that we have here at pass rusher, do you think the Jets should possibly chase one of the top pass rushers in free agency? Is that where we should get our pass rusher from?
I mean, I love the kid out of Jacksonville, but he's going to get $15, $16 million. You know, I just don't think at this time of season or this time of where we are right now that we can afford a pass rusher. I just don't think it's going to happen this offseason. Because, I mean, last year we had over $100 million. We couldn't get one. But there's no possible way we're going to get one with less money when we have so many other needs to fix. I think that I think our defense was okay this year. I think that, you know, it didn't play great, but Greg Williams is a great coach, and he adapts. And that's the one thing about having a great mind like him on a team. He can adapt, but you have to get him good corners. So I would suggest get 2 good corners, and let's go from there and worry about the pass rusher later on. But, you know, you got to fix offense, man. You got to protect Sam, man. You can't have this kid coming back here, bro, just getting hit the way he's getting hit every single game. He's getting tortured. So why not have a strong offensive line? You can run the ball better and hope and pray that we find a receiver or two in the draft, you know, and that could actually come in and help us out right now. I mean, but we have so many holes to fill, and we've had so many years of bad drafts, bad free agencies, bad management, bad, you know what I'm saying, ownership. I mean, can't fix this in one season. I think last year we all got excited because all the big names, and we thought this was our year, and we thought we were going to make that move. But, you know, what's in the dark comes to light, man. And our offensive line was, like Greg said, man, that was the worst, atrocious line I've ever seen in just history. I think it's never been that bad of an offensive play. So when you have that kind of situation, man, you need to fix that first. And we're looking at a 2, maybe 3-year fix before we start being competitive. Maybe next year we could get lucky, but without an offensive line, nothing's going to get done. You're going to get Sam hurt to where by the time you have him on offensive line, he's going to be gun-shy or too banged up to be able to lead his team in the right direction.
All right, Tyrone, here's a really important question. Who are you picking this weekend? Who's your Super Bowl prediction?
Man, you know, we going KC, baby, and Staten Friday. That's right.
So you taking Kansas City and who?
San Francisco.
There you go. That's a good bit. All right, cool. Well, thank you for calling it, man. We appreciate it.
Always love, man. Y'all guys be good, man.
And once again, our phone number is 929-477-2651, and we will go to Mr. J. Jay, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
So you're the new ambassador for the XFL, it seems like, huh?
Well, you know, we got to get some value for our football football money, right? I mean, looks like $25 is going to get us down to the lower level with no PSLs. So maybe they'll give us some more entertainment than what the Jets gave us this year.
Yeah, it can't be any worse, that's for sure. Now, what are your thoughts on this team, Jay? One of my biggest concerns now is if you look at the power structure with the Jets, you have, when it comes to personnel, you have Greg Williams, you have Adam Gase, you have Chris Johnson, Joe Douglas. Can you see that being a problem? Too many egos, too many personalities?
Do I see it being a problem? You can pretty much take it to the bank that it's going to be a problem. This team, it's guys, you know, I hate to be the doom and gloom guy, but I have no confidence in this team's ability to be competitive anytime in the near future. Unfortunately, I mean, it just is what it is at this point. We're kind of just look. We had our 5-year anniversary, Ty, with being in Buffalo and watching that.
Oh, that friggin' trip.
Team. It's been 5 years since we've had anything resembling competitive football around here, and really, I mean, even before that, we had 5 years run before that. So, you know, we're looking at like basically 10 straight years of this, and I think we're looking at least another 3 before that they can really turn this thing around and be competitive.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, Jay, you don't think, if you look at this team this year, the defense played very well, the special teams was competent as hell. You don't think with an upgraded offensive line this team can compete?
Dude, the offensive line, as you guys have been saying all show, probably comes at the expense of losing Robbie Anderson. So you got to add 2 wide receivers, if not 3, really. I mean, we have Crowder, I guess, and
a whole bunch of average parts around him. I mean, that's a ridiculously barren wide receiving core. You have you have Le'Veon Bell, who our coach has no clue how to use. We have a terrible head coach. We have no edge rusher, and we're down 2 cornerbacks. So, I mean, an offensive line will be great. Sure, that'll help. But, look, we got torched. This defense was good at times, but like I keep saying, against good competition, this defense got torched frequently. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of forgetting how they played against some of the better teams, just getting dragged up and down the field against New England, against Philadelphia, against teams that were playoff teams this year. Now, we had a ridiculously easy schedule, and so the defense kind of wound up coming out of this looking like they did a great job. And credit to obviously he deserves all the credit in the world to Greg Williams, but come on, guys. I mean, how you think this team is that close to competing with playoff teams? We're pretty damn far away, man. If you look at where all of our holes are, and you don't just address all those holes in one offseason. It's going to take 2 or 3 off seasons, and then by that point, we're probably going to be working on a new coaching staff, and then the cycle starts all over again. So, yeah. I mean, this thing is just. I mean, I have no optimism, guys. I hate to say it. I'm still going to watch it. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. Just don't. And it's terrible because Sam Darnold, then his rookie deal is gone, then we got to pay Sam Darnold. And so it's like, it's just the never-ending cycle. We can't ever have nice things around here.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yeah, and Jay, man, I want to thank you for calling in. I like talking to you. You bring the fire every single week, and I hear what you're saying. I think for me, like you said, there's a lot of question marks on this team, and I think one of the biggest question marks is the coaching. That's one of the things I think is definitely holding us back. I think it held us back this year, and I think it'll hold us back going forward as well. But shoring up some positions, particularly on the offensive line, even if we let Robbie go, maybe we can, get a Emmanuel Sanders or get some other, wide receiver prospects out there and possibly go in the draft as well. I think that would help us. But I want to go to the defense with you. You talked about them getting torched at times against, some of the better teams that we played, and we saw the cornerbacks get exposed. Jermaine Johnson got exposed. I remember everybody was loving Nate Harrison until he got beat, and then they were saying he was a bum. He got exposed. How do you think the Jets should address the cornerback position?
Ideally, I mean, we come back with Harrison and Bless Austin as depth pieces. I think those guys are players that definitely can play the position in the NFL, but you don't have a number 1 corner on this team, and you may not even have a number 2. Like, we're pretty damn far off from the days of having Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie back there. You know what I mean? It's like we're strong at safety, but we have probably the worst cornerback room right now in the NFL. And if you consider we're gonna have like $80 million to spend, but that money goes by pretty quick, especially if you're gonna extend Jamal Adams, and especially if you're gonna go out and you're gonna sign a couple offensive linemen. I mean, that money could go like that. So I don't know, man. I mean, you're gonna have to get a cornerback in here, but you're not gonna be able to use a first-round pick on a corner if you want to rebuild the offense, right? So. And then if you draft a corner in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th round or something like that, there's no guarantee, or the odds tell you that he's probably not going to be a number 1 or a number 2 cornerback. So you got problems, man. You got problems that you can't address all in one offseason. And, you can patch a few of the holes and come back a little bit stronger next year, but a little bit stronger next year against an improved schedule might equate to less wins. And then, you're going to have to plug more holes the following season, and if they win less games this year than they won this coming year than they won this past year, you're probably looking for a new coach. And so it's just like, I don't even know, man. We're just spinning our wheels here. I hate to say it. I'm not trying to be the doom and gloom guy. I want to see, let's see Joe Douglas pull off a miracle. Let's see him just knock this draft out of the park and just pull guys out of the 4th and 5th round that become starters, and kind of like what you would see the Seahawks do or something like that. And that's really, I mean, but my brain tells me that the odds are that we're in for a few years here of a few more years of irrelevant football, and then Sam Darnold's rookie deal's up, like I said, and so I mean.
Well, you made an excellent point. And listen, even if you have faith in Joe Douglas and he gives you a bunch of good pieces this year, the 2 places that you can make up the difference are at quarterback and at coaching. A quarterback can hide a lot of deficiencies by spreading the ball around and making players better around him. a very good coach can hide deficiencies by having a new identity and game plans and all other stuff. Sam Darnold probably has the ability to do that. Adam Gase doesn't, and that's the problem. He can't maximize his resources on offense where other coaching staffs can. I mean, look at the Titans. They're doing phenomenal. Andy Reid, probably one of the best in business. Look at the 49ers or Kyle Shanahan. These are guys who are all innovative guys. They're maximizing all the resources where if one guy goes down, they bring in somebody else, and they keep rolling. You know what I mean? When Mahomes got hurt, they kept rolling. It's all these
Doug
good teams do that. Yep, exactly.
Can you guys believe this offense finished number 32 out of 32? They didn't shake up the coaching staff at all. Nothing.
Nope.
They didn't try. There were all these guys out there.
It's amazing.
There was guys in the college ranks. There's all these guys out there.
Bill Callahan.
Sam Darnold.
Yep.
And there's just Bill Callahan, perfect. And there is just zero accountability. Nobody's losing their jobs, as we talked about all season. Everyone's comfortable. Everyone did a great job. They ended the season 6-2. Let's pop the champagne. We had a great end of the season, according to the propaganda men, and everything's great. And we're going to come back, and this is a huge momentum. Meanwhile, the last game of the season, what did our offense do? We had all our starters in there against the Bills practice squad and third stringers, and just completely crapped the bed. And by some miracle walked out of that game with a win. It could, but that's how we dragged into the offseason. The 32nd ranked offense. You want to show something going into the offseason? Go ahead and light up the Bills, and it's their practice squad, and then take a little feel good thing, dude. It was a joke that last game. And that's what they said. That's the taste that they're going to leave in their mouths throughout this whole offseason, and then nobody loses their. Dowell Loggins has got his job. He's probably sitting back in his penthouse suite, laughing. There's just nobody. It's just too comfortable around here. We're losing. 7-9 is a reason for a Gatorade bath, and and everyone gets to keep their jobs. And that's the culture we set around here. They keep talking about new culture. It's the same damn culture, and that's what drives fans crazy. That's what drives me crazy, at least. And I think we're just in for more years of just mediocre to bad football until hopefully, if Joe Douglas is who we hope he is, can kind of dig us out of it. But I just don't see it. This roster is so far away. We're just years away, and it's upsetting, and it sucks to hear and it sucks to say, but I just think that's what we're in for.
Jay, what is the best way for us to get discounted XFL tickets? I think you have some kind of thing of that.
Okay, so I've been putting the link all over the place. I was able to meet with my friends over at the XFL. They're doing some fun things over there. I'm excited to go to some XFL games. I know you are, Tyson, also. I have 4 XFL season tickets in the 6th row. We're going to be giving a whole bunch of those tickets away on our social media. I'll probably give you guys a couple pairs if you want to give them away on Let's Talk Guardians, and and we'll be having some fun with it. But I'll definitely be putting the links all over the place. I put it up the other day, or I think yesterday, where people can get it, and I'll post it again later on tonight if people have any interest. It's funny because I put a couple tweets out. Look, nobody's expecting the Guardians to take over, the NFL, the XFL take over the NFL, but it's kind of cool. They're doing, some football between from the week after the Super Bowl until the weekend before the draft. So it'll be kind of fun. I think it'll be cool, and they definitely have some cool ideas with fan interaction. They got this network if you sign up for season tickets where you have direct. I find this great, and I wish the Jets would do something like this because maybe it would cut down on the amount of fan protests and craziness on Twitter and all that stuff. They have this thing called, I forget the exact name of it, but it's a network where any season ticket holder can communicate directly with the front office. Not a salesperson, but somebody in the front office that's going to listen to your feedback and take it into account, and they're going to communicate directly with you. So I find that to be really cool because it's like if there was somebody at the Jets front office that, that season ticket holders could call and vent to, maybe they wouldn't need to vent on billboards, planes, things of the such. You'd feel like that maybe your feedback was being listened to instead of kind of ignored. I like that the XFL is doing that. I mean, obviously they're going to have to be more fan friendly. They don't have the NFL's pockets and all that stuff, and they're a brand new league and they're just starting off. But I find that's something to me that's worth supporting, especially for $25. I mean, my 4 season tickets total for all 5 games was $500, which is pretty cool. So that's for a lower level 6th row seat. at the same stadium. So it's it'll be fun. We'll have some fun. We'll tailgate and we'll do what we do.
Jay, good to hear from you, man. I look forward to seeing some XFL with you.
Yeah, absolutely. The opener, February 9th, right? We'll be there, man. We'll have to, I'm telling you, let's talk Guardians, bro. It's on that market, that XFL podcast market, bro.
Have a good night, man.
I'm telling you, it's fun. Have a good night, man.
So now, Joe, the question is, are you flying out for an XFL game? I think I know the answer to this.
Look, listen, I got a lot of love for Jay. I want to thank him for calling in, but no, I won't be flying out for an XFL game. But, I respect what they're doing over there, and, hey, I wish Jay the best of what he's doing as well.
All right, we're going to go to our good friend, CJ. CJ, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? How are you tonight?
Oh, it's 2020, man, so that's a positive.
Yeah, 2020 and another offseason filled with more questions than answers, and Jay's doom and gloom. You gotta love it. I have to say that I got to pipe in right as Greg was about halfway through his rant. I got to listen to Tyrone. I got to listen to Jay. They all bring up great points, and you know what? It's really frustrating for this fan base when we take a look at the offseason. And instead of being optimistic about some of the new pieces that could possibly be brought in to improve this football team, we're sitting here looking at, okay, great, we need to upgrade the offensive line, we need to upgrade the secondary again, we need at least 2 to 3 starting caliber corners. So, where do we start? And I totally agree with you guys. It's definitely going to take multiple off seasons for the New York Jets to really patch all of the holes that they're suffering from right now. It's not really the way that we all envisioned the offseason to be. And, it's unfortunate. We're stuck with Adam Gase. There's really nothing that we can do about that. And, finishing 32nd, in the league in total offense for a team that was supposed to be, or that we were promised at the beginning of the season, that was supposed to be, quote unquote, dynamic on offense. It's a little disappointing with a very bad taste in our mouths.
So what is your level of confidence in Joe Douglas?
I really think that Joe Douglas this year, he's going to have a learning curve. This is his first GM job. I expect Joe Douglas to probably procure a handful of good talent, bring it in. But the problem is that because we have so many needs, whatever he brings in is not really going to make enough of an effect, in my opinion, on next year, given the harder schedule that we're going to be facing. Now, that being said, at least if he can completely rebuild and upgrade the offensive line, so that way Sam can be protected, and we can get the ball to whatever weapons that we have left, on this team after the offseason, that we could be somewhat competitive, where we're not getting blown out by 20, we're not getting blown out by 30, but we can hang against playoff teams or playoff caliber teams where we can go punch for punch with them. Really, it's a crapshoot, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And CJ, I want to thank you for calling in, man. I like talking to you as well. But you hit the nail right on the head. The offensive line definitely is something that needs to be figured out, particularly this offseason with a lot of the options that we have. But are you a guy that thinks that we should greatly address the offensive line in free agency, or would you like to see us really go into it during the draft?
I really think, Joe, to be honest with you, we're going to have to not only address the offensive line in free agency, but we're also going to have to look at it on the draft, or within the draft as well. Because although Alex Lewis played very well, Tom Compton did okay, the Ryan Khalil signing was a pretty much a bust. We did have some pieces on this offensive line that did perform admirably given the circumstance. So we did prove that there are a couple of guys on this team that we could possibly retain for depth, but we still need more than that. And again, we're paying for our arrogance. We're paying for our arrogance in the past that thinking that Nick Mangold and DeBrickashaw Ferguson were going to be around forever, and we never really addressed them. And now here we are with, Jonathan Harrison, who did the very best that he could playing the center position, but it's still not enough. And we saw Kevin Beecham struggle. We saw Chuma Joa struggle. We saw a plethora of other guys who would come in. I think there was some dude who started week 17 I had never even heard of before. So I think his name was like Mike McGillicuddy or something like that. I thought it was a joke. I really thought somebody made up this name on Twitter, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this guy's going to be starting." So it's difficult for Sam to be able to get the offense rolling when you constantly have a new guy who's going to be learning his cadence, learning his tendencies, and he's constantly got to have his head on the swivel because nobody can contain a block. So you're going to have to address it not only in free agency but also in the draft as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the first thing they got to do is they got to find him an anchor on his offensive line, commit to a center, and give him a guy that's going to be here for 5 to 6 to 10 years. Like, that's the most important thing is the guy in front of him. Like, the Ryan Coyle thing was a disaster. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Harrison obviously should have been the starter all along, but they completely blew that. But it's like, commit to somebody and put it in front of him. Hopefully he stays healthy, like the Nick Mangold, like the Kevin Mawai. You need that kind of guy in front of Sam for a long period of time, and then you need wide receivers. So how do you handle the wide receiver position?
This is a tough question. I've actually heard you guys mention a couple of really good takes where, depending on the type of money that Robbie Anderson is asking for, but I don't know if I go up to $15 million. I think this was a couple of weeks ago. I heard Joe say on the show where you possibly would go $9-10 million, maybe dabble in the $11 million range. But I would go no higher than that because Robbie's not a bona fide number one. Yes, he's a good wide receiver. Yes, he can. He can be solid at times, but he's not a number one. And the money that he's asking for on the free agent market, he's asking for number one money, and he's not a number one. So, in my opinion, it's unfortunately, but we really could be looking at the possibility, guys, of not only losing Robbie Anderson, but also losing Quincy Enunwa as well.
So do you want like a Sammy Watkins? Do you try to get Amari Cooper? Do you look at A.J. Green? Or you just say you're going to the draft?
I would definitely look at a Sammy Watkins. I definitely would take a flyer on Amari Cooper if he becomes available. But you are going to have to target somebody in the draft. So I would try to do both. I know cap space is going to be limited. We're going to have like $80+ million of cap space. And like you guys just said, when you're trying to re-sign guys and trying to bring guys in, that money goes quick. So it's gonna be a difficult task for Joe Douglas to be able to kind of piecemeal this whole thing together. So unfortunately, we may be looking at another year of bargain basement shopping, but Yeah,
and I hope he doesn't get too crazy in that bargain basement. We used to see Mike McCagnon do that all the time. I mean, he would go to the 99-cent store and try to ball out and wonder why the stuff didn't work as good as the other stuff from other better stores. It's like, come on, man, you got to get, especially if we're talking about offensive linemen, you got to get the top-tier guys. We've seen us go bargain basement shopping, with Spencer Long and all those other bums, and that stuff didn't work out. But I want to talk to you about our issue at pass rusher. How would you address that, and would you be interested in signing Dante Fowler?
If you could bring him in for the right price, I mean, obviously Jadeveon Clowney came out and said that he doesn't want to play for, any team that's not going to be a Super Bowl contender, so that pretty much wrote him off. I definitely would look at a Dante Fowler. I think that personally, if you were able to get a Dante Fowler, it would address quite a few needs on the Jets defense and would also take some of the pressure off of Jamal Adams. As far as the pass rushing duties are concerned. Plus, of course, give Greg Williams another toy to play with where he could deploy him in different situations. So, I mean, at this point, you'd be foolish not to kick the tires on it to see what it can do.
So, CJ, if you had one prize free agent that you were guaranteed to get this offseason, who would it be?
Oh, Jesus. I knew you were going to ask me that. I actually had my list up not too long ago. I probably would have to go. I would have to get a center. Whichever of the top within the NFL's top 50. There's a couple of names they're kind of escaping me right now, but I know that I had mentioned them a little bit on my show. One of the things you definitely have to get an anchor, just like you guys talked about. So, I mean, if you're going after anybody, especially in that offensive line, you gotta have a center.
Okay, and then what is your Super Bowl prediction? Who are you taking to go to Super Bowl?
Well, there's a part of me that really would like to see the Titans make it, but I don't know. Just Kansas City, the way that they absolutely exploded against the Texans, I don't know if it was the Texans just completely falling asleep at the wheel, or the Chiefs are just really that good. But it's probably going to be that Kansas City, San Francisco.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And last but not least, what is your information for your show, man? Where can we listen to you guys at?
Okay, well, unfortunately, I got some sad news to translate over to you guys. Well, it's kind of bittersweet. The Jets Factor podcast has actually just got finished recording its very last episode for its existence.
What?
I'm taking yes. So the Jets Factor podcast, we just got finished recording well, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a caveat to it. So let me explain. Basically, the Jets Factor podcast has been an incredible vessel for me for the past 6.5 years, but I actually have another project that I'm working on, which I hope to get off the ground probably by the end of February, early March. A podcast that I'm putting together personally called Weapons Hot. So I'm hoping to have that platform off the ground probably by the end of February, beginning of March. I obviously invite you two gentlemen to come on, and of course Kevin, if he's available, to so to speak, crack the bottle of champagne against the new ship. So just right now, I'm just going to enjoy the rest of the NFL playoffs, and just kind of take some time off and kind of relax, reset, and then gear up as we start going toward the 2020 NFL season. With a brand new show, brand new podcast, you'll be able to find us on Sports War Radio. You can still follow me on Twitter at JetsFan0523. Any questions you guys may have, please feel free to send them my way.
Yeah, if you need anything, let us know, man. We'll definitely help you out.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And gentlemen, thank you again. Tyson, first of all, for you, Let's Talk Mental Health. You and Kevin doing a tremendous job over there with that new channel. I wish you the best of luck for it. Any way I can help you guys out, please let me know. Joe, be safe over there in California, especially doing what you're doing. Thank you again for your service.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Have a great night, CJ.
All right, thanks, guys.
Man, it was 6 years for those guys. That's crazy. Time flies, Joe. It really does. Like, I was thinking about how long we've been doing this nonsense, and I'm like, damn, we've been through the bowls. We've been through a lot of nonsense on this show. We're going through coaches, GMs, players. Damn. Yeah,
I mean, hey, man, but shout out to CJ, and Jets Factor is a great show, and it sucks to hear, that's done, but I'm looking forward to seeing what CJ does next. Looking forward to hearing him again. So once he gets that up and running, I'll definitely be listening.
The best part about their show used to be was they had the unfiltered version. So like we are on YouTube,
yeah.
well, like how some of us are on YouTube, they're unfiltered over there, so we can go on there and just say whatever we want. That was always fun. That's what our YouTube channel is. So if you want to,
Man, listen. They spoke their minds. I respect that. They had to say what they wanted to say, and they definitely were, uncensored, unfiltered, and they say what they had to say. I respect those guys.
Yep. And if you want our uncensored version, Let's Talk Jets Radio on YouTube. Anything goes over there. Even primetime can't control it anymore. So anything goes on YouTube. So just you can enjoy that over there. We're gonna go to Dan in Howard Beach. This guy calls him WFAN. What's up, Dan? How you doing, man?
First off, Happy New Year. I haven't been talking to you guys since last year, so I just wanted to start off with greetings.
Season greetings, man. Happy New Year. And what are your thoughts on Joe Douglas? Now, I know you're full of excitement and enthusiasm, and you're ready to talk some playoff run, right?
No, man. No.
Oh,
Joe put me in my place about this time last year when Gase got hired, and he spoke truth. He told me, he warned me, but no, I had the uppity, gotta give him a shot. This guy got the raw deal in Miami. Listen, you fool me once, it's a done deal. I have no hope for this team. This year, Joe Douglas can do whatever he likes. What about him? What about him?
Well,
he's got to earn the respect of the he's got to earn the respect of the fans. He's done nothing.
Okay, so how could he earn it? How could Joe Douglas earn your respect this offseason?
Get a quarterback coach, get an offensive coordinator, at least get a good offensive coaches around Sam to fix the guy's mechanics. But he's not going to do that because, again, you guys hit on the head. Gase, he dictates everything that goes around him. He wants little fat Loggins going over there. That guy's supposed to teach Sam Darnold how to fix his mechanics. That guy, come on.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about this? And I want to thank you for calling in. I didn't mean to crush your dreams. I just, let's give them my take there. But
murdered.
But listen, at the end of the day, I know
Freddy Krueger over there in Cali.
Well, look, I do show up in people's dreams. Listen, I'll show up in your dreams. You sleep on me, you will have nightmares about me. I was just trying to keep it real with everybody. That's what I try to do.
And you did.
People here, but I think people are forgetting. There was also a time where there were talks of actually bringing in a legitimate QB coach for Sam. And I remember Gase, I think it was during a presser, said that he wouldn't do that because he didn't want too many voices in the room between them and fixing his mechanics of things or to Loggins. Loggins should not be the quarterback coach here. And this is one of the problems that I have with Adam Gase. If you're handing him a young quarterback and he's supposed to be the guy that's literally guiding our franchise, because as Sam goes, we go. So if you're handing Sam over to him, these are things that should have already been prepared. You look at a lot of these other young quarterbacks, when they came in, they were working with QB coaches that knew what they were doing. Tom Brady had a QB coach, had one of the better QB coaches, and he was working with guys in the offseason as well to help his mechanics and do things. That's how he got so good. You know what I'm saying? When you look across the other league, that's what we're doing here. And I don't understand how you're putting Loggins in this situation to be QB coach for Sam Darnold. That's crazy. Yeah, I think he was like a QB coach in Cleveland. This guy's not distinguished for doing any of that. He hasn't bred and birthed any type of great QB talent here. It's like, come on. All that stuff should have already been set up, but it wasn't. So that's mind-blowing to me. Look, I'm going to keep spitting the same thing. I don't mean to crush your dreams again. But, look, I understand that we need to better this team, and Joe Douglas is going to go into the draft. But like you said as well, and Jay touched on this a little bit too, I understand why a lot of people are looking at this kind of doom and gloom, because even if Joe Douglas does make quality moves, the bad coaching of Adam Gase can negate all of that, because we've seen that happen here before. We've seen guys. There are guys that are popping on our defense now. You look at Shepard. Shepard under Todd Bowles, we were talking about cutting him. Does anybody remember that?
Yep.
Remember when we were talking about getting rid of his ass every week? We talked about cutting him before the roster cuts this year. Now, this year we come in and we're talking about, hey, this is a guy that we should move forward with. What changed? The coaching. Greg Williams put him in positions to make plays. There's other guys on this defense as well that have popped since then too. This is exactly what we're seeing on the offensive side too. So even if we get somebody, and that's why I'm worried that even if we draft a solid wide receiver in the draft, the fact that Adam Gase couldn't figure out how to utilize the world of talent that is Le'Veon Bell, how does that bode well for him utilizing the talent of an unfinished college guy? How?
Without a doubt. Now, right, exactly.
Le'Veon
2019,
close to the finished product as you're going to get. If you can't figure out how to coach and get the best out of the finished product with one of the highest ceilings in the entire NFL, how the hell are you going to coach and get the talent and get the ceiling out of a young college guy coming in?
Right, exactly.
Like anyone else? Go ahead.
No, it does. I mean, if point blank, Gase had no idea how to game plan against an 0-11 Bengals team. That was Le'Veon Bell's bread and butter. You win that game, you win against you sweep Miami, we would have been in the playoffs with a horrible, horrible schedule. But now again, going into the 2019 season, we had all high expectations. I had enormous expectations. I mean, we solidified the defense. Offense with Sam going into the second year, you have an offensive genius, this and that, and it was a cake of a schedule when it came out. Now, in 2020, with this coach, again, you can't strip off on my head that we're not winning any more than 3 games. 3-13. That's it. No, there is no hope. None. I'm going to enjoy the offseason. I'm going to enjoy the draft, the free agency. I'm going to enjoy it, definitely. And I'm going to enjoy talking to you guys. But when September rolls around, again, we still have someone there that's employed, who doesn't know his elbow from his ass, as we all know, making boneheaded Bill O'Brien stuff. Rudimentary freaking mistakes. That's what we got there. And again, we can, this is the common denominator of the New York Jets is Gase and the Johnsons. It's just an ineptitude that continues to climb every year. It's like, all right, we can't get any worse than this. No, we can. Like, we're going to keep Dow Loggins. Again, the guy, like I said on WFAN, the guy doesn't know what a treadmill is. How does he know how to, fix the mechanics of a quarterback? Like a 3-step drop, the guy falls on his ass. He doesn't know what to do. But yet, he's buddy-buddy with Gase, and this is as far as we're going to go. This is what so Sam has to get his tutelage in the offseason with Jordan Palmer. So hire him. Hire Jordan Palmer then. Get him in there. Get someone. Freaking get DiFilippo. Get a Todd Monken. And you know what? Again, Peyton Manning put us in this mess. Throw mad cash at him and say, you know what? Be our quarterback coach. At least he can work with Gase, right? But not even Peyton would want to tarnish his reputation being a part of the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, and I hear you. And it's frustrating knowing that Gase is going to be here for another year, but it is what it is, and we've got to deal with what we got to deal with.
Yeah, you have to.
How much faith do you have in the Johnsons to allow Joe Douglas to just do his job uninterrupted? Do you think that he'll be forced in to make splash signings or splash trades at all this coming off season?
No. I think he's going to be given the green light, but then there's going to be a yellow light, and that's from Gase. I'm sorry, I can't get off this thing. But as soon as Joe Douglas is going to get someone, he has to get the approval from Gase, and that's what sucks about this whole entire thing. I mean, the prime thing is getting offensive line. I mean, there are free agents out there to solidify the line, and then when draft time comes, you could actually get a Tristan Wirf or whatnot that might fall. Or we might have to trade up and get a legit left tackle. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen this offseason. I mean, even to get a number 1 wide receiver, that some people think is unfathomable, but Mike Evans, who's to know that we have pieces here that we can mix and match and whatnot. Probably we could trade for Mike Evans and let Robbie go. I mean, I love Robbie, but there's no way that I'm going to allow and just swallow the fact that we're going to be giving him 12 to 13 million. The dude is not a number 1 wide receiver, but I think his market is going to be there. It's going to be like a good 10 to 12. But the most I give him is 9 to 10. I can't even.
Yeah, dude. His market is $11 million at least. That's where it's starting at. And that's just what's going to be. He's going to be getting. It's crazy.
If it's 11, fine. If it's 11, fine. If it's 11, that's what the market is. But don't go beyond 11. Don't. It's just crazy because again, let's be real. Isn't that another cycle of the Jets fan? Just like in Chad with Lavernius Coles, you have that awesome reputation. Then all of a sudden, he gets stripped away by the Redskins. Same thing with Mark and Braylon. They had a good connection, and all of a sudden, they chose Antonio over Braylon. And it seems like this is going to happen again, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be the Jets doing. I think it's just the free agency market, which blows.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie's a free agent at the perfect time. It's a very weak class,
yep.
And it's like the guys that are above him. Amari Cooper is going to set the. AJ Green's coming off injuries. You know, a lot of these other guys are much older, so he's the right place, right time, going to get that enormous check, and I don't blame him. Like that's what football is all about.
Completely. I agree.
Then it's just like, then what do you do? And then, but the only thing you said, Dan, was like, you know, trying to making a trade for like a Mike Evans. Dude, I don't think we're in a position to even do something like that. Like, we need our draft picks. Like, we can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, we just can't do that. Like, we have to maximize what we have. We're not one player away. We're not one Mike Evans away from being a very good team.
No, I hear you, but let's say if we get Conklin and Scherf, right, in free agency, and we're at 11, and we're thinking, all right, we're going to get a wide receiver. But if we could trade that, coupled with maybe a player or whatnot, and get Mike Evans, I'd do it. I'd rather get a proven 6'4".
But if you're taking at 11, you can get say you get a rookie receiver there for a lot cheaper than Mike Evans. Mike Evans has a huge contract on him, dude. So if you're going to get those two lines, that's big money.
But he's proven, man. He's proven. Look what Plaxico did. Look what Plaxico did for Eli.
That's something, but that honestly, that idea. I mean, yeah, Mike Evans is getting paid a lot of money, but you can throw Le'Veon Bell into that deal. They're gonna get rid of him anyway. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, let's not put.
Everybody's laughing.
I know this has been definitely.
Like,
I know this has been on the back burner.
The ideal trade that you would make.
This has been on the back burner for a while now. That Jamal Adams, you know, not going to trade him, this and that. But again, I think that's a piece that's going to be kind of special. That's going to be probably dangled around the whole entire off season. If the deal is right, then I would do it. Case in point, if Dallas is stupid enough to trade Tyron Smith and a Zach Martin for Adams, like let's say just for the hell of it, then you do it. Then it's a no-brainer. Like, I'd rather protect my franchise quarterback than have, which is an amazing safety in Jamal Adams. Like, it has to make sense. Like, if you're going to pull a trade, it has to make sense. It can't be like a freaking coat-tight trade for like a Ron Moore type of thing or a Doug Jolly thing that it's just, you want to just blow your brains out. Like, I think it's going to be a fun offseason. Again, I think it's going to be really fun. We're going to be very active in the draft room. I think it's not just going to be one GM hanging out in that war room. I think it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be action-packed. But again, I don't even want to think about September. But I just think this is going to be a fun off season.
Dan, good. Well, first of all, thank you for calling us. I know you're a celebrity now. You call in the big New York sports stations, but you still call us, so we appreciate that, man.
That is Get out of here, man. You guys always know how to humble me, man. No worries. Thank you, and just keep this show alive, man. Love it. Love listening to it.
Have a good night, man. You know what's funny, Joe, is I was sitting there, I'm driving home from work, and I put on WFAN, because you always want to hear, like, what the fans are talking about, and they're always arguing about, like, you know, Giants and all this stuff, and all of a sudden I hear this, we're going to go to Dan and wherever, and I hear him talking, and he's the only guy called in about the Jets. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, I know that voice. And lo and behold, there's Dan arguing with the host, and it was funny as hell, man. I'm like, I know that argument. We've heard that before. Man, he makes moves.
Yeah, he does. He does. And I want to shout out again to Dan. I love talking to him when he calls me. It's great to talk to him. Look, he knows his stuff. And if you want to talk Jets, he's the man to talk to.
Yeah, he is no shame at all. He'll call in New York Sports Radio and just start blasting people. So we are going to go to Mr. Steve. This will be a positive phone call. Steve is going to bring happiness to the show. What's up, Steve?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. What's going on?
What is your Super Bowl prediction?
That who I think is going to go to the Super Bowl? Well, listen, Tennessee has had an amazing Cinderella run, to where they are right now. But I mean, it's just I think this is where their Cinderella run comes to an end. I think it's going to be Kansas City for the AFC side, and I'll be rooting for my dad's Packers on Sunday as well because my father is a Packers fan. But I think it's going to be San Francisco and Kansas City for the Super Bowl.
Okay, fair enough. And what is your blueprint for the Jets this offseason? What do you think Joe Douglas is going to do, like his first 3 moves to improve this team?
Well, I think the most important moves to work on is number 1, your offensive line. Number 2 would be at your corner position, and number 3 would be a pass rusher.
Steve, first off, I want to thank you for calling in. You're bringing the fire early, and I hear your takes there. I agree somewhat, but where do you put wide receiver in there? I mean, say Robbie walks away, what are you doing there?
Well, the thing is, like, if Robbie does walk, and I think he is going to walk, it's just Robbie is asking for way too much money. And someone said on Twitter today that the Jets could give him $52 million for 4 years, $13 million guarantee. You can't do that. That's too much. He's not worth that money. I mean, if we let Robbie Anderson go, I wouldn't mind if the Jets did try to go after, someone like, I mean, I know a lot of people say, okay, you should go after Amari Cooper first, but Cooper's going to ask for too much money as well. I think the best receiver to go after, if I were the Jets, would be a guy like Sammy Watkins. Watkins would be one I would go after. What?
Sammy Watkins isn't going to be cheap. What do you think you're paying him?
What do you think I'm paying him?
Yeah, I mean, do you think, what kind of contract are you giving him? If I would doesn't come cheap.
If I would try to pay him, maybe 4 years, $28 million guaranteed, $7 million a year.
Wait a minute, you're gonna give Sammy Watkins $7 million a year
for $28 million? Yes.
Dude, he's making that's not happening, dude. He's making like $12, $13 million a year now.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be interesting, but I think what Joe Douglas needs to focus on first, and I know we've said this before.
Wait, hold on. So, Steve, you said no Robbie. You don't want to give Robbie $13 million. If you're going to offer Sammy Watkins $7 million, he's going to laugh in your face. So what is your plan C then for wide receiver? What else are you going to do?
Well, another thing is, like, if we can't find anything in free agency, there's always the draft as well.
Yep.
So you're gonna let Quincy go, Robbie go, and then just draft somebody.
I would let Quincy stay. Let Robbie go. I let Quincy stay, and then look at wide receiver in the draft.
Yep. Yeah. That was a great take. And listen, Steve, I heard you all along. I knew exactly that's where you were going, and I agree with you. I guess you could see what Quincy has left. I would, move on from him as well if it didn't cost me a lot of money, or let him go on about his business because he might retire or might decide to move on as well. But listen, you look at the draft there, you do what you need to do. There's no need to overpay for Robbie Anderson, especially when you can take that money, that, $12, $13 million some people are talking about giving to him, and you can take that and address your offensive line, or maybe even go after one of the lower-level pass rushers. Right, Steve?
Oh, no, well, I mean, you got to go. Here's the thing. We got to go after offensive line. Joe Douglas is an offensive line guy. We got to protect Sam. We have to protect Sam. Like I said from last week's episode, you had Sam Darnold had to deal with 8 to 9 different starting offensive lines. You can't do that during a regular season. And the offensive and Sam at times was getting killed out there. You mentioned it, Joe. Tyson was mentioning it. We can't have Sam getting killed every game. We can't have that happen.
Well, there's 2 ways that can happen, Steve. The first way is if the offensive line can't block anybody. The second way is if nobody's getting open for Sam, which could be another problem if we don't have good receivers.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. But I know you guys were talking about Dante Fowler, and that's going into free agency. I mean, listen, I would like to get Dante Fowler. I mean, what do you guys think of Matthew Judai?
I mean, that Dante Fowler still. I mean, we went through. It seems like we talk about him every year, doesn't it, Joe? Like every year, he seems to be like in the conversation. First we should have traded for him. Then last year we should have kept him. Then he re-signed with the Rams. I'm not a Dante Fowler guy, to be honest with you. I know he had a good year this year, but there's another contract year for him. But I'm not. He makes a lot of money. He made $14 million this year. I mean, I'm not on that boat, unfortunately. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I want to be on that boat, but at the same time, it depends on what he's asking for. Like you said, I think he is making somewhere around the 14 or teens. If he's asking for something crazy as well, then, I mean, that's something else that we can address in the draft as well as far as pass rusher, or we can go at the lower level guys. There's pass rushers in this draft coming up, and so we should be able to attack that, especially if Joe Douglas is this, drafting wizard and guru that everybody's saying. That's the same thing I'm saying about wide receiver, because this is particularly a deep wide receiver class that we have coming up, too. So we can address that as well in the draft, too.
One other thing is also, too, is, I mean, we that's the thing I think that's most important on our defense. I mean, I know we definitely need to get help at our corner position, but we gotta also find that pass rusher, because I think we have a great middle linebacking crew. If we can get that pass rusher, Joe and Tyson, I think this defense will be phenomenal for a few years if we can get that pass rusher.
Well, I mean,
it's crazy.
You still need corners.
We do need corners, but everybody's talking about pass rushers and getting to the quarterback and so on and so forth. I remember people telling me relentlessly that Quentin Williams was a pass rusher. I remember that. Does anybody else remember it? Because I do. I remember talking about Josh Allen. I remember talking about trading down, and I was told that Quentin Williams was going to get to the quarterback. He was going to be our pass rusher. He was going to provide pressure. So, look, I do think that we still need to help get something that kind of go along with that. But shouldn't the emergence of Quentin Williams also really better this defense as far as pass rushing ability?
Well, I mean, it was the thing. I know everybody all said that, but Quentin Williams was more of a we saw him more during the regular season. He was more of a defensive line guy than a pass rusher. But I mean, Dante Fowler, you guys did say would be a very good pickup. Would be a good pickup to have. I mean, like I said, this is going to be really, really interesting to see what Joe Douglas is going to do for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his hands full, man. There's a lot of tough decisions to make with the current roster, with guys he has to try to keep, guys he has to get rid of, and then pick up. I mean, it's going to be fascinating. I mean, this is just
last thing,
wild.
Just last thing. One thing I'm going to say really quickly is just I still don't trust Adam Gase. Like, Adam Gase is just someone I don't trust, because my worst fear is that, I mean, Tyson, you said this earlier on the show, that he's going to try to, my worst fear is that what Adam Gase is going to do is he's going to try and interfere with Joe Douglas of not doing his job. And if that's going to happen, things are going to go hell in Florham Park.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing you worry about, the egos, the pissing contest, who gets the final say, and they both report to the owners, which is never a good idea. So it's going to be interesting, man.
Not.
The other thing we've seen from Adam Gase, too, is he has no problem going to the media and playing the media against people, too. So he did it with McCagnon. But he did it to McCagnon time, and, if push comes to shove, he could probably do it to Joe Douglas, too. So you never know. But, Steve, thanks for calling in. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too. It's interesting, Joe. It's like every call, the same thing. Everybody has like the same concerns. Where it's like we're excited. You're kind of excited about the off season because you have potential to have like $80 million. Then the nerves kick in. It's like, all right, what is Gase going to do? Joe Douglas has a lot to prove. It's like it's going to be interesting, man. Never a dull moment with this team.
Yeah, and I want to thank Steve for calling in. He really brought the fire. He stood up and he stood out. So shout out to Steve, having a great call. But listen, we've got to get the job done here. And yeah, everybody is nervous. We've seen the issues that we had in the past, particularly in the draft and mid-rounds, and paying the price when guys didn't pan out. But, hey, we got Joe Douglas here, and, we got a guy that we all think is going to be able to get the job done. We just got to see, what he does. He's got to land a big-time free agent. He does. He's got to land some type of big offensive lineman or something to really help this team and spark the team offensively.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting. Joe, what is your Super Bowl prediction? Who do you think is going to win this weekend?
I like the Titans. I think the Titans are a really good football team. I know they crept up on some people, but they have been playing solid football this year. Kansas City is just something else. So I got Kansas City there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans take it, but I do have Kansas City there. And on the other side, I got the Niners, man. The Niners they're just stout up front, and I just think that they're just going to go after it. It's going to be, a tough game for the Packers.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the 49ers are going to blow the Packers out. I think the Packers, they were very lucky against Seattle. I think they were one play away. If that guy doesn't drop the ball for was it Turbin? If he doesn't drop that ball, I think Russell Wilson wins that game. And I would have rather seen Seattle play the 49ers. Probably be a better game. But I think the Packers get blown out. They can't handle that front. I don't think they're that well coached either. So I think the 49ers, and same thing with you. I love to see the Titans win, and their blueprint will be control the clock, ground the pound, but the Chiefs are so damn explosive, man. I mean, they're just ridiculous. So it's insane. Andy Reid is just, they got weapons everywhere. They got 3 running backs, 2 tight ends, 4 receivers. I mean, they could do it all. It's insane.
Yeah. And the play calling is immaculate. And even when, some of these guys go down, we see Andy Reid start running this stuff. They do all these motions. Watching the game, I lose track. I'm pretty sure if you're on the field, you're going to lose track of who you actually supposed to cover. And we see guys running wide open at times. I mean, the screen plays that he draws up, he uses a myriad of backs. I think they got 1, 2, or 3 backs. I think it was like Williams, Brady McCoy, and I forgot the name of the other guy. They got all these guys, and then you got weapons like Travis Kelce and, Hill and all these things. And we saw the mistakes that they had early in that Texans game, and they were down, 21 points, and we're still like, okay, that's
24 points.
Ease. 24 points. And we saw them just mellow out. They didn't, the building wasn't burning down. They didn't give up. They didn't lay down because they were just down. They said, okay, it's our time. We're going to turn it on. And they turned it on. I mean, when Mahomes gets rolling, man, it's tough. So, yeah, I can see both of those teams going to the Super Bowl. But like I said, I really like the Titans. I like their blueprint. And they're extremely well coached. I think a lot of people, aren't necessarily talking about that. They're talking about Derrick Henry and his success, rightfully so. Ryan Tannehill has showed up, but a big part of that is how well coached they are. I mean, down to the T. You saw what Vrabel did against the Patriots, just burning that clock. He knows the rules. He knows what's going on. And, old Bill didn't have a laugh at that one. He was pretty upset to have something done to him that he's done to other people. But I tell you, the Titans coaching is very solid.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive all the way around. Special teams, defense, offense. It's fun to watch, but I just think the Chiefs are a different animal, man. I mean, that's just just crazy. Must be nice.
Yeah.
I was very, very jealous of these teams. Not gonna lie to you.
Well, hey, we had our chance. We had our chance to get guys out there that were looking at us. The rule is gone. We could have had him here. When you make. When you make bad decisions, they just keep coming back to bite you. It is what it is. Hell, we had a shot at McCarthy as well. Super Bowl winner, great coach. Came out in public and said he didn't want to coach anywhere else but here. We moved on from him too because of the slander. But I remember people saying the exact same thing about Andy Reid. Literally, I remember people saying he was washed up. I remember people saying his offenses were old and antiquated. He would never get it done
stale.
Wherever else he went. Yeah, it was stale and. Oh, it ain't stale now. It ain't stale now. It'll blow your ass out, put 40 points on you before the half. I bet you'll get home before anything gets stale, all right? So, I mean, who knows? But I tell you what, he has one hell of a coaching staff around him as well. Eric Bieniemy, man, that guy's amazing. Here's a guy that could be here's a guy that could be a coach. Hell, he was on the out there for coaching, looking for coaching jobs as well, and didn't get a lot of people, trying to get a yank at him. And I don't understand why. That guy knows what he's doing. That guy's one hell of an offensive mind. So, hey, maybe he's out there again this offseason and we, move on. Who knows? But we did what we did, and, bad teams, bad franchises make bad decisions, and that's kind of where we are.
Lucky us. As we wrap things up, the first thing we want to do is thank all the callers. Okay.
Can we? Yeah. Are we going to talk about who we want in free agency? I heard we talked. We asked multiple people who our number one guys were. Can we say a little bit about that before we wrap up? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Who's your guy? Who's your number one guy that you think the Jets must get?
My pipe dream. This is a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. I go for a guy like Shaq Barrett, dude. I want a pass rusher. I would just sell my soul. Like the lineman, I think we're going to get. I think that's going to be a part of it. If I had like that splash, like crazy signing, I want a dominant pass rusher. That's assuming that we get offensive linemen. Like I'm assuming that Joe Douglas is a good general manager, knows what he's doing, is going to make offensive line a priority. If I have that splash move, it's not going to be a receiver. It's going to be a pass rusher. And I don't know why. I'm not really sure why. We always preach build around Sam, but I just think if you look at this defense, if you re-sign Jamal, you bring in, you have Bless Austin, Nate Hairston, you bring back Poole, secondary is going to be okay, middle linebacker's fine. You get that pass rusher alongside like Jordan Jenkins and these guys, I mean, this defense would be insane, man. It really would be.
Yeah, I hear you, but I mean, historically here, especially in the recent past, we've poured so much capital, so much resources into that defense. I am done with that. Okay, I want to make this very clear.
Especially with Mosley
done with that. Yeah, I am done with that. I mean, hell, we just drafted Quentin Williams. I am done with pouring, first round picks into this defense. I'm done. My guy that I want this offseason in free agency is Brandon Sheriff. Okay, everybody listening. Yeah. I said it. Brandon Sheriff, all right? I actually got 3 guys that I want, and there's a good chance that we could afford all 3 of these guys. One is Jack Conklin. The other one is Brandon Sheriff. And the other one is Joe Thuney. I want all 3 of those guys. All of them offensive line. It is time to build around Sam, and then we can continue forward as well. Because, I mean, we got $80 million. We don't have to blow all 80, just getting those guys. So we can go elsewhere, too, and continue to shop. And then, in the draft, depending on what we address rolled around, there's some other moves we can make in the draft as well. But I'm telling you right now, I want Brandon Sheriff. He needs to be on this football team immediately.
No, you actually could get all 3 of those guys. In theory, they could get all 3 of them. They definitely could.
Yeah, I'm thinking, of course you're going to have to pay Sheriff, but I think the top lineman that's making the most money this year, I think is like $12 million or something like that. So we're probably going to have to pay somewhere around there, for all 3 of these guys each. But yeah, we need to bulk up this offensive line, and I think if we do that, especially, I'm okay with leaving Harrison at the center position if we build around him. I don't think he was trash. He was all right, so I think we can leave him there. But if we get a new left tackle, a new right guard, a new left guard, and a new right tackle, let me tell you something. It's going to be a different-looking team, you know what I'm saying? All we got to do is get rid of Adam Gaze, and then we on our way. You know what I'm saying? That's all we got to do is get his ass out of here, and then we're on our way. But that's what we need to do. We need to build around Sam, and those are the guys that I want.
Do you look to bring back Alex Lewis or no?
Yeah, I will bring back Alex Lewis, absolutely, for depth. He would be a guy that I would love to have on my bench. I don't want him starting because I think there's better linemen out there that we can have up front. That's why I'm very concerned about the bargain basement shopping, kind of gibberish that's going on around here, because I watched Mike McCagnon do that, and that did not work. We need to make sure that we get the top guys here, because we need to, again, invest in Sam. We need to get in step with the rest of the league, all right? It's an offensive league. Guys are throwing the ball for 1 million yards. They're throwing 1 million touchdowns. Let's step up into that. I understand people want a pass rusher. I know you want a pass rusher. I know other people want stuff. But defense, yeah, whatever. I've seen guys literally run into the playoffs scoring 30, 35 points, each game, and they get in there. And their defense gives up 30, 28 points a game. No problem. They're still in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we need to do. We need to get in step with that. I know we need to address wide receiver as well. There's other guys. I think Emmanuel Sanders, he's a guy I'd be interested in too, but especially with the depth that is in this wide receiver class, I have no problem drafting some guys.
Yeah, the other edge rusher, the guy from Jacksonville, that Yannick, I don't know how to say his last name. He's another guy that's an edge guy that's kind of interesting. There's just, listen, as much as I like C.J. Mosley, and we didn't get to see him play, unfortunately, that contract alone, it's like, man, for a middle linebacker, and you look at who they had this year where you have like Neville Hewitt and James Burgess and Avery Williamson is significantly cheaper. You take those guys, like, wow, that $10 million plus that they gave him, a huge and ridiculous contract. Take that money and put it elsewhere. Makes it a lot interesting, doesn't it? You like the player, but it's like, man, like, for a middle linebacker.
The thing is, though, and I think a lot of people need to keep this in mind as well. When we got him in free agency, we paid the Jets tax. That's literally what we did. And I think people need to keep that in mind this offseason, too, that we're going to be paying the Jets tax for a lot of players. I know people are throwing names around, Amari Cooper and all these guys. Listen, Amari, if he does come here, dude, he's going to charge us way more than anyone else because of how far away. And that's not a guy that I'm saying I won't. Don't tweet me about that. I did not say I wanted Amari Cooper. I'm just saying that if he does come here, he is going to get stupid paid because we're going to pay the Jets tax. So a lot of these players, names that's being thrown around, are not going to want to come here, or they're going to come here and completely break our banks if they do come here. So I think we need to kind of tamper our expectations just a little bit on certain players, unless you want to just pretty much blow your bag on one or two players, because one guy is going to take up all that. So the Jets tax is real, especially with Adam Gase being here as well. You also have to keep that in mind,
that's the X factor. Yep.
Because, you can go on Twitter and look at all the former players, Anyway, you can look this stuff up because there's guys that are still actually talking about them. But, hey, we need to be real about here. So, look, I get that people want all these flashy wide receivers and all this so on and so forth, but if we can get 3 solid offensive linemen, maybe 4 for the lower tier, 3 solid offensive linemen and maybe a wide receiver, a lower tier wide receiver, then I think we're okay. And we can, move around and draft and do other things. Because, again, Joe Douglas, he was working those boards with the Eagles. That was one of the big things over there with Roseman. That's what really helped Roseman out in the Eagles, too. He needs to come here and do the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's the one thing, too. You look at a lot of these players, if the money's equal, what comes into play is the team ready to win and who's the head coach? And that's where the Jets are going to have a problem, too. That's You're completely right. It's like you saw, and some players are honest about it, where Jadeveon Clowney's like, yeah, man, I'm only going to a winning team. Like, I'm not wasting my time with some losers. And there's other prominent players like that, where you hope, like, a Jamal Adams can help recruit them, but what's going to recruit them more is money, money, money. And they're going to be like, listen, I'll come play there, but you guys don't seem like you're close, and Adam Gase is your coach. So how are you going to offset competing against it's not an easy sell. It's not. The only way to sell is to pay more, which sucks.
Yeah, and I love Jamal Adams, and, I understand that he's going to recruit and stuff, but I don't think players are going to buy into that, especially not after the year that, Le'Veon Bell had here. And that's going to see,
especially on offense.
Actually, 2 things. Yeah, if you look at if you're trying to woo an offensive player to this squad in free agency, there's 3 things that are standing in your way. You look at the offensive scheme and Adam Gase and the way he coaches, that's a hit. If you look at the way that we handled Le'Veon Bell, who was like a prime free agent come here, that was a hit. And then if you look at the way that we handled these injuries, with various guys, Falk, the offensive lineman that we had that filed on us as well for the way, like, that's going to be a hit. So all those things, and the fact that we're far away, again, is going to have us pay more, a lot of people, or may have us miss out on free agents. So everybody, please keep that in mind.
No, that's definitely a fair point. There's no doubt about that, and that's where you kind of wonder what Joe Douglas's negotiating skills and how he can get things done. Like, my biggest frustration with McHagnon, he was the close in the running, second best, always the almost guy. He led the league in almost. Will Joe Douglas be able to finalize these deals and get guys without completely getting ripped off and just regretting a contract like we may regret some of these other ones? And that's a challenge.
And I'm also wondering if he's going to be a guy that's not going to allow free agents to use us as a doormat, that used to happen with Mike McHagnon.
As leverage.
Guys that use us. Yeah, use us as bargaining chips to get their deal elsewhere. I remember Hightower did that. They brought him like cupcakes and all this nonsense, and he just used us to get more money and went on and moved on. And, you know, we weren't even close to re-signing him, but because Michael Hagman sat there and all this other stuff, all these other guys are getting signed up. So I'm hoping that Joe Douglas is the guy that's going to come in and say, look, I'm about business. Either you're going to sign or you're not going to sign. If you're not going to sign, I'm walking away. Like, I'm not going to keep playing these games with you. You know, you want to be here, you want to be a Jet, or you don't, you know, and that is what it is.
Yeah, this is going to be fascinating. It's going to be a wild and wacky season, no doubt, as I lose my voice. But, Joe, are you good? Are we wrapping this up?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, we can move on. Man.
Well, what we'll do is, obviously we're going to do these shows throughout the off season. We'll keep doing ranking, looking at free agents. I'm going to try to get some players on, too. I'm working on one for next week. Enjoy this weekend, all the games. As always, we're on Instagram and Twitter at Talk Jets Radio, YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio. We're also on Facebook. And, Joe, it is your time to shine in January of 2020. Time is flying.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm the man of the people. I'm here for the people, and we shamelessly promote our Facebook page. Everyone go on Facebook, search Let's Talk Jets Radio. Like that page. Our content's up there. Go ahead and give it a listen. Message us. We'll message you right back. We love going back and forth with folks about this football team. Also, leave some feedback. We love hearing about what you folks think we do here on Let's Talk Jets Radio. I'm also on Twitter as well at YoungJ000. That's 3 zeros. Go ahead and follow me. I'll follow you right back. You want to troll me? No issues. I am the troll that lives under the bridge, and I will have my Darnold jersey on as well, and we can go back and forth. I'm also on YouTube as well at YoungJ00. That's 2 zeros on YouTube, 3 on Twitter. I do videos about the Jets. I also talk about other football teams as well. I continue that all throughout the playoffs. I do a weekly pick-em, so I'll talk about my Super Bowl picks and so on and so forth. So go ahead and subscribe to my content on there as well. And if you want to troll me on there as well, no issues. I will troll you right back. We can get back and forth in those comments, no problem. And listen, folks, when you see me in person, okay, it is arms out. Yeah. Show me the money! It's 2020. This is crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's a new year, but, you know, we got the same person hitting the button around here, all right? You know? But it is what it is. I'm not going to let the people, you know, I'm not going to let us be separated. Listen, when you folks see me in person, it's arms out, chest open, free hugs for everyone, okay? The hugs were absolutely free. Don't believe anything else. Thank you, folks, for listening. Without you people, we are absolutely nothing. Seriously, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen and call in. You folks are the greatest.
Enjoy the games. Don't forget, Let's Talk Mental Health on YouTube, and we'll talk to everybody next Tuesday, maybe with a special guest. Talk to you later.